If these charges are proven to be true, this is without a doubt among the cruelest, most sickening of schemes. Joran van der Sloot trying to profit from a mother's grief to the tune of $250,000. It was all part of an FBI operation that happened this past spring before Joran was arrested in Peru. The new indictment accuses the 22-year-old Dutchman of wire fraud and extortion. It claims that on March 29th, Joran contacted John Q. Kelly, the attorney for Beth Twitty, and told him that he knew the whereabouts of her daughter Natalee's body in Aruba. The indictment says Joran would show Mr. Kelly the specific location of Natalee's remains and provide specific details concerning the manner of her death. Once Natalee's body was positively identified, according to the indictment, Joran would get an additional $225,000 within 30 days. Through her attorney, Beth Twitty gave Joran $10,000 in cash and then wired another $15,000 to his bank account in the Netherlands.
They have very little chance of getting that money back. Instead, they're really looking for justice, and the money is completely secondary.
Bo Dietl, a private investigator involved in the case, says Joran had a lot to say.
He made statements, incriminating statements, that he pushed Natalee Holloway down. She hit her head. She broke her head open. She died. Contacted his father. He told him his father helped him bury Natalee Holloway.
The indictment says Joran led Kelly, the attorney, to a location in Aruba where he claimed Natalee's body was buried. That information turned out to be false. A few weeks later, with thousands of dollars in his pockets, Joran boarded a flight to Peru for his gambling vacation. That's where he met Stephanie Flores, who he's now accused of murdering. Sources tell us there's a very little chance the Peruvian government would ever extradite Joran before his trial in Lima. He remains at Castro prison, where we're told he's scheming to make a lot more money, asking for a whopping $1 million to tell his story on television.
Well, he never stops, huh?
Nope.
He never stops. And you know what? It's one thing, John, to try and sell your story to the media, but Brad, to try and extort the victim's mother out of this much money, I mean, and to a certain extent, he succeeded.
Absolutely. And I think you have to look at it. It's another insight into Joran's personality. He is what I call a taker. He does not give, but he takes. And it shows his level of narcissism. It shows his level of lack of empathy. And his ability to actually go to a bereaved mother of possibly a child he killed, I think goes to the heart of, this is just a bad kid.
And was any part of that story he told her lawyer true?
No, of course not.
Complete fiction.
I think exactly, because it's all about making money. It's all about his ability to get whatever he wants to satisfy his lifestyle of gambling, women, whatever it might be. He could care less about the rest of us.
In Peru, he faces anywhere from 35 to 7 years in prison, just 7 years if he can manage to convince a judge that this murder was happened as part of a crime of passion. Mm-hmm. Is this indictment in Alabama perhaps a way to ensure that he does spend more than just 7 years behind bars for the murder of one person in Peru and possibly the murder of a second in Aruba?
Maybe. But, you know, this indictment obviously could be used if, in fact, he ever got released from Peru. But I think the more important issue is what this indictment states. And it really states that Joran is a kid that doesn't care about anyone or anyone else. And he's going to make money off of anybody that he considers to be a patsy. And unfortunately, he's placing Mrs. Holloway in that role.
And is this indictment here in Alabama completely on hold pending the Peruvian legal proceedings? I mean, what does this mean, this indictment that came down late yesterday? Do we just have to wait until he's free and can be extradited to the United States?
That's correct. What would happen is if, in fact, he finishes his sentence in Peru, the U.S. government can then file with the their version of the Department of Justice and get him extradited. It typically takes months because he has to go to court. He'll have hearings. There'll be procedural things to go through, and eventually he would be returned to the United States.
You know, someone may pay him that $1 million. What could he do with it in prison?
Well, I don't know, George. I mean, this is a guy, antisocial personalities are really great in prison. And Bertie Madoff is another great example of somebody who can just live, exploit, maneuver inside prison. And so, you know, what can he do with the money spending wise? It gives him a lot more power in prison. His ability to buy things.
Right, you can buy things,
his ability to manipulate other inmates to get to whatever he wants. Again, being the taker.
Wow. Brad Garrett, Thanks so much for weighing in on both those stories this morning. We'll have more developments, I'm sure, on both of them as the days and weeks continue. Thanks.